All right, last one. Here we go. We have reached the end, our friends.
Here we are. This is the end. We two old friend. The end.
Merry Christmas. I mean, like, we started on Thanksgiving, and so to like start on Thanksgiving and end on Christmas, like, this is wow.
And can I just say, in true, like, come as you are fashion, this felt like 3 years.
Yes. There's so much. Like, it's like, it is one of those, like, at one point it's like, oh, we just started telling this story. But then on the other hand, it's like, oh my God, we've been telling this story for 75 years.
I know.
And there's been times where it's like, you know, that TikTok sound, you know, I think it's from Holes, where he's like, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. He's like, that's too damn bad. Yeah. You keep digging. That's,
yeah.
It's felt like that at times. Yes. But I am so proud of us.
I am too. This project was a labor of love, and it needed to happen. And I'm proud of us that we did it. Yeah, I am. Like, it was a good story to tell. And there's a lot of healing in telling the story. And most of all, I'm like, you know when you do things that surprise you? Or I guess I should say you think you're a type of person. And after living a life where I wasn't being truly myself and authentic to myself, because I was trying to live another life and be everything that everybody else wanted me to be, and setting who I wanted to be aside. I think the biggest surprise of all is that when push came to shove, at the end of the day, I prevailed, being the type of person that I am.
Yeah.
And I've said it for years. I'm a protester. I have a protester nature. When I might live under a rock, and I might just be like some little, like, go with the flow, whatever, things don't really bother me. But when it comes to things that, like, I go, oh, nope, this is a matter of principle, and it's a principle that I stand on, like, that's when you see that side of me. And so to have gone through this experience, knowing that so many people have been through this experience, and I don't fault them for not speaking out.
Yeah.
Because if I wasn't who I was, I wouldn't have spoken out either. Right.
Yeah.
Like so I don't fault anybody by that, but I'm also delighted and proud of the fact that being the person that I am, because I am somebody who will speak out. So I don't have an option. Like, I can't not speak out. Like, that would be, I don't fault anybody for not speaking out, but I would fault me for not speaking out, because that's not who I am. And so to start this podcast with the I will speak out for those who can't speak out for themselves mentality, that's probably my biggest accomplishment, I would say.
Yeah. And I think, like,
what's your biggest?
No, like, I love that, because I was just thinking, like, you know, in our very first episode, you know, it was like, why do we want to do this? And that was your, like, you know, that was one of the things that you said. And one of the things I said was, like, I want to give people the words, because, like, we had these feelings. We knew that there were red flags. We knew that there were things that were wrong, but at the end of the day, we just didn't have words to them. And that's why we drank the Kool-Aid for as long as we did, because we thought we were wrong in our feelings. And I do feel like we've gotten messages from people, and like, so like our podcast has validated feelings and has, you know, helped people, you know, come to a place where they understand the toxicity of certain situations. And I also like just the amount of confidence I've never been someone who worried about what people thought of me. But in my time at Come As You Are, it became so rooted in me that I had to be responsible for how people perceived me, and not that I was worried, oh, are they mad at me? Oh, do they not like me? But somehow my personality was going to affect their eternity or affect their faith or affect their walk with God. And so I shoved myself into a box and I censored myself, and I became kind of this mess of a person who wasn't real confident in a lot of things because I knew in myself what I wanted to say, but I would always second guess. And I was worried about how people would take it. And so for me to now, like, I came to the realization, like, having a meeting at work last week of just how, like, things I would have practiced a conversation that important ahead of time, or I would have overanalyzed it and asked other people, like, hey, if I say this, do you think that's okay? Like, and I just walked in there and had this conversation, and I was like, oh, that's who I used to be. Like, that's who I was before Come As You Are, and it's taken me this long, and I'm so grateful for this podcast because I feel like it has helped me regain that confidence in who I am through us telling our story.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, I don't know, I was trying to think of, like, what would be a great, like, question to ask of, like, a real life check-in, you know, because it's like one thing to be like, okay, we did it.
Yeah.
We put it down, you know, forever immortalized in the digital space or whatever that's worth. But we created a project, we completed the project, and, you know, I don't even know if it's a question of, like, what's your greatest takeaway from this project into, you know, where are you at in real life, or like what the topic of conversation at this point, you know, would really be, and where do we leave our listener, you know, now that you've listened, thank you, and you've completed it, and this is the final episode of this project. I mean, maybe that's the question. I don't know. Like, what would you say? Have you thought about, like, would there be some, like, what do I want to put out there in this last episode of this entire project?
I went back and I listened to our first few episodes, like, you know, just to kind of, like, help me go back to, like, where my mindset was, you know, a year ago when we started this project. And we really credited a lot of other things, you know, other works, documentaries, podcasts, things like that. And I still credit them for where we are. But at some point, we kind of went off on our own. And even though you and I, we were doing this project together, you and I still went down different paths on our own. And I think that's my biggest thing is you can have those things that spark inspiration in you. And, you know, we had things like the Rise and Fall of Mars Hill and the Untangled Faith podcast and the Truce podcast, and, you know, the documentaries on Hillsong or Jerry Falwell, or, you know, all of those things. And yeah, those were amazing. But at some point we took on that journey as individuals ourselves. And so I hope that, you know, anyone who's finding encouragement or anything through our podcast can do the same of that. I mean, your journey is your journey and it's going to look unique to you. And so take the inspiration that you can from us, but then walk your walk with confidence and know that you're moving forward exactly the way that you're supposed to.
Yeah. And I really I would echo that in the sense of like, you know, hopefully if you have gone through something like this, that when you come out on the other side of it, you don't just dive right back into the same
Yeah.
situation in another building, right? Like, or that it's not just a continual cycle. And I think that's what the perspective that we bring in our journeys is, that we stopped the
Yeah.
cycle, right? And it's got nothing to do with whether you go to church. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with, not only can you survive, but you can thrive on the outside of toxic church culture. You can thrive on the other side of abuse, um, and you none of it's circumstantial. Like my story and the decisions that I've made and the places that I'm going and the things that I'm doing is not to say you have to do those same things. It's to say that even if I decided to participate in organized religion again, I would do it from a place of thriving,
Yeah.
right? And I would hope that that's out there for somebody to find if they want to continue to, if they want to heal and survive and thrive outside of toxic church culture, that they would find a church culture that is healthy. Um, I don't want my judgment of thinking that that doesn't exist, to impact
Yeah.
anybody. I would hope that you could find that. But what I found, my personal story, is that once you get outside and you are thriving, you don't make the same decisions to get involved in the same things, and you leave a lot quicker because you see the
Yeah.
toxicity, um, and you see it outside of churches. Because at some point, like for me, like personally, like I've made attempts to participate in organized religion or church cultures, and those don't last very long because I go, nope,
Yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah.
But I also see the same tendencies in things that aren't church. And I go, oh, not participating in
Yeah.
that, or shine light on it, or have conversations with people like, do you realize that this is toxic? Like, this is not okay. We don't do this anymore. I'm not supporting this. I'm not supporting victim shaming anymore. I'm sorry. I don't support making excuses for abusers in any circumstance, in any situation. Like I don't do it. I will not be a part of the problem anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, like just knowing that most people who have grown up in these cultures have been convinced that life outside of the culture is evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not. You're fine. You'll be fine. And then you can align your life and your values to whatever direction you want to go. And like you said, like our lives, we were almost trying to live the same life at Come As You Are. Like we had the same check boxes to fill. Even if it was a different color, we were driving the same car.
Yeah.
The cars in different colors. Now we're in completely different cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which is great. But yeah, it is bittersweet though. It is bittersweet. It's good. It's good. I look forward to whatever's next. If we continue in the podcasting world, if that's something we decide, and if not, we were podcasters.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I wanted to take a second, and because I know you and I have talked about it behind the scenes, but just like for our listeners and put it out here in this public space of, how thankful we are for our families, like our kid, like, for us to be like, we're recording, like, be quiet, if you are a member of our Patreon, we don't
shut that dog up.
We don't edit our episodes over on Patreon because like that's part of what you get is you get the real us, the less polished. You get the behind the scenes. Like if you were sitting in the room while we're recording.
Who are you looking at? Oh, there's a child peeking in. I have to talk to. I'm sorry. I had to look away.
And so, but I mean, our families have been so patient with us and so understanding. And I think, I know I've talked with my family about like the importance of why it is that we're doing what we're doing, and this isn't just a hobby for mom, but there's a bigger picture there, and how appreciative of that our family is, you know, and just that.
And even like we were shocked. Like, I don't know, in my household, I'm like, hey, I only got a couple more recording times left. They're like, what?
Yeah, you're done.
Like,
yeah.
What? Like, it's become so, because yes, we've been doing this project for a year, but we had another podcast project that we were working on. And so we have been podcasting for 5 years.
Yeah.
And so to be like something that's been a part of our lives daily and weekly for years is now like, okay.
Yeah.
And actually, and we're okay with like the unknown. Like,
oh yeah. Another thing I think is cool is like, you know, so many times as a parent, your kids think you're cringe or you're weird and, you know, like, oh my gosh, my mom's so embarrassing. But like to hear our kids like talk to other people, be like, my mom has a podcast. You should probably listen to it. I think it'd really help you. Like that.
Yeah, to have their full support. Yeah. And I know like my oldest daughter too, she started listening at some point. Like she didn't really want anything to do. They all have their own journey of when they were ready to hear stuff. But to have her go back and like, even I kind of cringe and I'm like, oh, you're going to go listen to it? Like, because somewhere in my head, nobody I know is actually listening to this. So it's okay for me. Like, people out there listening don't know me. It's fine. That's what gets me through. But to have her be like, the things in my head and the way that I remember my childhood, to hear your version has helped me put things in place and be like, oh, that makes so much sense as to why I see that, you know, and she's old enough to have those, and I have open conversations with my children anyway, and a very good relationship with them. And so for them to hear some of the stuff and to be like, oh yeah, and for them to be like, thank you. That totally made sense.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So
it's been good.
I think my last thing is like, if I could just encourage anyone, like, your voice matters. Like what you went through is valid.
Yeah.
And so whether, you know, you just share it with a trusted person, or, you know, you share it in a Facebook group, or you do what we did and you get yourself a microphone and you put it out there for God and everybody to listen to.
Which I would encourage you to do, honestly.
No, it's very therapeutic. Yes. No, 100%. And the more
people that speak out, the less we can hide behind, you know, that's where they win. That's where the power is. If you don't speak out, if we don't talk about it, and I think this is probably my biggest motivation for speaking out, is that if you remain quiet, then that's where your power goes away. Like, it's not power in silence. There's power in speaking. Burning Butterflies is a listener-supported podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by our amazing supporters on Patreon.
Follow the link in our show notes to learn how you can become a Patreon supporter too. Supporters get exclusive access to bonus content each month, including outtakes, cut content, and supporter-only episodes. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating on your listening platform.
Burning Butterflies is a production of Asha Media. Thank you for listening.